You sure you want to do this?
There she is.
You want to break in and steal highly regulated equipment.
This could be our only ticket out of here.
Welcome to the Romulus space station.
This place gives me the creeps.
What the hell is this?
I don't know. Are you all right? No more! No more!
Hello and welcome again. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. There's going to be lots of great channels listed at the end for you to check out. And thank you so much to all my new members. I've gotten a whole bunch of new members recently. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy. I'm doing Alien Romulus this time around, which I know is an interesting one. It's not like a huge culture war movie right now, although it is made by Disney. So the usual suspects do have to be kind of negative about it. But we're going to go over mine and Bobby's review. There will be spoilers. We will, kind of go over the movie, what we liked about, what we didn't like about it. It's not great, but it's decent. But we'll go into more detail here in a little bit. But also, we'll also break down Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic's take on this movie. And what is really fascinating about their take is how it's the same, but different. And we'll go over that as we go. So, without further ado, here's mine and Bobby's conversation on Alien Romulus. I guess, I don't know, do we have time for this one?
We might.
Okay. No. I don't know if anybody cares about this one.
No. It's getting review bombed, so.
Yeah.
It's bombing, too. It's doing worse than Borderlands.
Oh, yes. It's a complete bomb.
It's going straight to streaming. That's like that
it's bombing so bad that it's the first movie to take over the #1 spot since Deadpool and Wolverine was released. What a bomb.
Yeah, this I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I did enjoy what they tried to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
The direction that they took.
If you've seen the podcast, pretty much I love Alien 1 and 2. Alien 3 and 4, I'm not so hot on. I kind of respect 3, what it was going for, but like it kind of drags. And then 4, I don't know what the fuck. And then I don't like the Alien vs. Predator movies. Prometheus and Covenant are movies I kind of defend, even though I think there's definitely dumb stuff in them. I kind of am down for like whatever weird stuff Ridley Scott wants to do with those movies. I won't be down for more of them. I don't think they're as good as the original 2.
No.
And now we get to Romulus.
Yeah,
go ahead.
There's something that this did very well that I feel Prometheus and Covenant didn't do well.
I feel the same way. I wonder if we're talking about the same thing, though.
The aesthetic to it. Even the look of the ship, the look of the uniforms. It felt like a time previous.
Yeah.
Or like within that. Yeah. As opposed to Prometheus, which looks more futuristic, but it's set further back in time. Yeah, that's my one complaint with those two. But with Romulus, the atmosphere that they set in this film right in the beginning, I loved, and I felt it was building up on terror and suspense a lot like the original.
Well, yeah,
really good. Yeah,
I was going to say the one thing I think this movie does a lot better than Prometheus and Covenant: tension. I was actually concerned for the characters for a lot of this. I'm not going to lie, like as much as I appreciate what Ridley Scott's doing with Prometheus and Covenant, the characters for the most part I thought were kind of dumb, with maybe a couple of exceptions. I didn't really connect with any of them. Here, I don't know. I kind of liked a lot of the characters, and I will tell you the standout immediately is David Johnson's Andy.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That was
The lead too. I really enjoyed
yeah.
her.
I thought
too.
she was solid as well. Yeah, I want her to survive. Oh.
Her, and her boyfriend's brother. I couldn't wait for him to die.
Yeah,
Man,
yeah,
we
I
had to
was
wait
waiting
for
him
that
to
one.
die.
We had to wait
That
for
was
that
a hell
one.
of a death, though. That was a hell of a death, though.
We'll get to it. We'll get to the wall minge, but
yeah. I mean, the story is set up like we have these essentially minors. Minors. Yeah, not well. I mean, I guess they're kind of teenagers, but like
they're teenagers. Yeah,
they're on a colony planet. They're mining stuff. We have Rain, who is our main character. She has this old android, Andy, who doesn't function great, but like he is there to support her. He was put together by her dad, and he hangs out with her and he helps her out. I like their relationship so much. That is awesome. But essentially, she does all the work she needs to essentially get her freedom and get off the colony and move, get somewhere else.
yeah.
So she goes to essentially cash in her hours, and they go to tell her, "Oh, we're sorry, your hours. We've added more hours, so you can't leave yet. You got 5 to 6 more years here." So, yay, Wayland Yutani.
They're great company, and they know what's
Yes, they're definitely not
with us.
They're definitely not the real villains of this franchise.
I'll admit this movie is the first time I ever noticed the logo,
Yeah,
like their slogan.
yeah.
First time I've ever noticed the slogan.
What is the slogan? I don't remember that.
Building a better world together.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Something like that. And I remember just reading it, and it was after that scene. I just laughed out loud in the theater. Inappropriate time, but
then she comes across a group of other kids who are essentially like, hey, we have this plan to we have a ship, but we don't have the cryo units for long-term travel.
We found this floating abandoned Wayland Yutani ship above our planet. We're gonna go up and take it over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're gonna go get they're gonna get the cryo units so they can do long-term travel in their kind of janky ship. But yeah, obviously, like, it's an abandoned space station. Why is it abandoned?
It's
Aliens
decommissioned.
took it over. Yeah, it's just decommissioned. I don't know what I'm talking about. No, it's decommissioned. They forgot about it.
I'll say this is the first of the brilliant decisions that humans made in this movie. First of the brilliant decisions the humans made.
So they go up to get the cryo units, and it's like, obviously they find the cryo units and they grab them and they go back. Oh wait, they're low on energy, so we have to go to this room that has
some power cells,
the energy, the power cells that just happen to have a whole bunch of the alien. It's not alien eggs, but like they're these sacks,
face hugger embryos,
of the face huggers. Yeah,
they're walls
they're
of
just
them
stored in there. Yeah.
And at this point, I thought, okay, is this a connection to Covenant right now? Like, is this like what the hell? There's There's walls of these on embryos. Like, why are there more? Why are there multiple? Why are we growing them in this room? Like, yeah. So that whole sequence of them in the water being like that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So this is the first movie to actually kind of have fun with the face huggers.
Yeah.
So you have the first scene in the water where they're just hiding out in the water, jumping around. I was watching that scene thinking it would get a whole bunch of them. It only got one, and one of them that wasn't even in the room, which kind of surprised me. It's like, whoa, shit, she got it? Whoa.
Yeah.
By the way, we are spoiling this. So
the spoilers have started. Sorry.
Yeah, it's if you're looking for a recommendation, give it. Especially if you like the Alien franchise, give this one a shot. It's pretty good. It's not amazing. It's not as good as the first two, but it's pretty good.
It's better than 3 and not as bad as Resurrection.
Yay.
But it's not better than 2 or 1.
No.
It literally is mid.
Yeah. But there's the other great facehugger scene where like the facehuggers like don't have eyes; they're just pure like sensory creatures. When they're in this hallway area, they need to get through, and so essentially, Andy's like, "Okay, so what should work?" By the way, Andy has been upgraded with a different android's
Yes, half of an
software.
android that
and a little
they
bit,
find.
yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah.
need to talk about that.
Yeah, we do need to talk about the other android. So they find an android that's all fucked up from alien acid.
Who's about
At
half?
first, they assume it's down.
He's been
Yeah.
halved. Let's.
Yeah.
And next to this,
As soon as they assume he's
half an
decommissioned, then he grabs him suddenly behind the back.
No, Bob. First, there was this half android next to a giant melted hole in this space thing. So that's how he was half. There were no legs anywhere,
Mhm.
at least none that I remember seeing. Now, this is something that it was good idea, terrible execution.
Yeah,
Distracting
I would agree with
at
that.
times. I love
Um,
the idea of it, but they could have just kept it from that far shot of him in the shadows. and
Yeah,
used
they need
the
to do it
effect then.
better, and I've seen it done better years ago. I mean, it still drives me nuts when they mess up this, and like Ant-Man was like 9 years ago. It's like that looked way better. What are we doing? So this android, and I kind of wondered it'd be something like this because I noticed that like the android was moving. It was obviously saying something. I'm like, is that gonna be like an Ash android? And the android's name is Rook, and yes, and
And then it
it's a
started
CGI.
talking,
Yeah,
and then it was
it's a CGI Ian Holm, and it's not the best effects.
it's
I will say
distracting. It's very
it
cool.
it looks better than Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy.
Now there's
That was
times
12 years ago. No,
there's some shots and some times when it looks
Fine.
really good.
yeah.
Other times it looks really bad. There's more really bad times than really good shots. That's what
And
makes it
I was
distracting.
shocked considering how not amazing it looked. I was shocked how many close-ups of his face they did.
Of the bad, and those are the bad ones.
Yeah, it's like okay, maybe avoid those.
Oh,
You know, and like there's even stuff on the modder where they do a close-up of his face on the modder. It's like, on a modder you could maybe add some interference so you can't quite tell as much, but no,
it's not as bad, but I just know it's
Okay.
there. I know it's there
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
but it was a cool
it
idea
was-
what they
yeah.
did with it. But when they stole that and that half Android's chip, that also upgraded Andy. So Andy was
Yeah.
now kind of almost a super Android
Mhm.
synthetic.
Mhm. With questionable allegiances, because once he got that upgrade, he was much more knowledgeable. He was much more helpful. He didn't seem to be malfunctioning, but he said, "Hey, before my primary directive was to protect Rain, who was essentially kind of like his sister. Now he's like my primary function is to do what's best for the company." That's not sus. Cool.
No.
But yeah, there's this great scene where they have to go through this hallway and they raise the body temperatures so that the creatures won't be able to sense it. So they raise the temperature in the room to 98.6 degrees to match them. Then Andy's like, yeah, so don't sweat, don't get tense, just be as quiet as possible. And they're able to get most of the way through the room. Obviously, it gets to a point right at the last minute where they just have to make a dash for it. But yeah, I appreciate them actually doing something with the facehuggers rather than just having them jump on them immediately. Just having some fun with that creature. Very cool. And then there's also the one scene that, the scene where there's an alien like sitting like, so essentially they get to the other side of the hallway because they need to get to the ship.
Yeah.
And then there's a crew member on the ship, but unfortunately there's also an alien in the ship. They're like, we need to open the door and get her over here so the alien can't get her. But they can clearly see an alien just back there, sitting, waiting for the door to open. And Andy's like, I'm not opening that door. And they're like, but you have to open it so we can get her out quickly.
I'm kind of with Andy on that one, though.
Yeah, no, it's
Kinda
one of
with-
those things. It's just like in the first Alien, we're really saying no, don't open the door. It's I'm with Andy on that one. That
Yeah.
alien is obviously chilling and waiting for you to open the door so it can just jump through and get all of you guys.
Yeah, it's hunting. It's hunting.
Yeah. The alien's like, ooh, if I wait a few moments, I can get all you guys. And it only attacks once it's clear they're not going to open the door. And it does attack the one woman, although she survives for quite a bit longer.
The pregnant lady.
We will have quite a bit to say about the ending too. But
the pregnant lady, the one
Yes.
who they said was pregnant, and
Yes,
it's important
yes.
that we say that
yes, because as we dive in,
because
one of
we
the-
see her like the tail get her,
Yeah.
and get pulled away.
Mhm.
So we presume she's dead
yeah,
because
But
that's
she's-
that alien people die off screen like that in alien movies all the time.
mhm. yes. But so, anyways, the survivors were working their way a bit further down to the ship. They hear crying, and then the one dude is like, "Oh my god, it's her!" And it's like, yeah, maybe no, but yeah, of course he doesn't think about it. He just dives after her. So they're all going after her.
Going after him, going after her. Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, so she's all strapped up in the alien embryo thing, and Andy points out there isn't actually an alien carcass next to her. There isn't a face hugger next to her, so there's a chance she's not been impregnated. And they also encounter, I think we've jumped ahead. I jumped ahead a little bit because I think before this they encounter what Weyland Yutani uses the aliens for, and it's like this new serum to upgrade humans and make them
Series X001 or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
And we see them experiment with it with a rat, where a rat is like dead, but then it gets injected, and all of a sudden it's alive and well. And then they turn away, and the camera keeps on playing for the audience, where we see the rat explode, and it's like, okay, maybe this isn't great.
But we don't get to see what this is until the next shot, which is a black goop.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
But yeah,
we're back to the goop again.
yeah, it's a special serum. Yeah, I wonder if it's supposed to be that's got to
Synthetic,
be a reference to Prometheus, right?
It's probably a synthetic version of it because I remember
Yeah.
they mentioned Prometheus
Mm-hmm.
in
Yes, they do.
dialogue talking about it. So I think it's either a synthetic version of it or the real McCoy.
Mm-hmm.
I
Who
don't
knows?
know. Yeah, I don't know.
But anyways, Andy's primary objective is to get this goop off the station now. But anyways, the Andy gets injured. Everybody the two women get away. Andy gets injured. The one pregnant lady who they just rescued from the alien breeding area is injured, but essentially Rain gives her the goop, says, you gotta work your way to your ship by yourself. I'm not leaving Andy. And then so she goes back, gets Andy, takes the corporation drive from him. So now he's just a dude, back to his old self, kind of. And yeah, so they're running back. And oh yes, and we gotta talk about that one scene as they're getting back. So like they have these special guns with an auto sight, so she doesn't have to be a good marksman, and she can just gun down a whole bunch of aliens. But they're on the bottom floor. So if acid gets on the floor, it will just instantly hit the vacuum of space and they're dead. So what she does is she knocks out the gravity, and then she shoots a whole bunch of aliens, and then she has to drift through gravity with through alien blood, weaving her way through that, which I thought was kind of cool idea. They do more of the alien blood, I feel, in this one than they traditionally do in these movies as well.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's one of those things. Like, go ahead, Bobby.
I liked this. I thought it was a decent use of CGI.
Yeah.
But like the whole time, I'm just like, what the hell are you gonna do when all that shit just gets together? Then, like, what the fuck are you gonna do then?
Well, I mean, we kind of see it. It
Yeah.
bursts through the station.
Oh yeah,
It just tears it up. But yeah, so she just through. It's a pretty cool scene. And that's one of the things. Like, as I'm going over this, what I like about this movie, and we'll get to the ending because there's stuff to say about the ending, but the vibe off this movie is that I like the tension. I like the creative use of the aliens. This movie isn't going for anything more, which, okay. There's something to be said for that, because I feel like what Prometheus and Covenant were going for something more. I don't know if it quite hit those things, but like, I appreciate the effort. This one's not going for anything more, just going for like alien horror movie.
It's just playing the hits.
Shit. Yeah.
It's playing the hits.
There's a couple hits I don't feel are quite appropriate. Andy's saying, "Get away from her, you bitch," doesn't feel
That's
quite
the
right.
exact thing that I felt was completely pointless.
Yeah.
Why was
well,
that?
keep in mind that's in there, and this is supposed to take place like 40 years before the second Alien. So
I know.
What, did she get it from him? What?
Or did she just get angry and just an in the moment thing? And
yeah, that felt really forced. There's a couple of references I think are fine, but that one felt really forced.
That one felt really forced and bad. Yeah, I laughed out loud at it.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
But anyways, pregnant lady.
Yeah,
she's injured. She needs to get back to the ship. So to help herself out, she injects herself with the goop.
Well,
which always ends well.
Not Ash suggests that, saying that it will heal her and help her.
Yeah, but they don't. But she does it on her own. I mean, and then but then she gets back to the ship. Ash says, "Hey, go, run away. Everybody else is dead." And she's like, "No, I'm going to give him some time." And then they come by, and Ash is like, "Oh, thank God you are all alive. Now get away." Very genuine. I completely believe him. But anyways, so they all go into the stasis pods, and they get away happily ever after.
Oh no, that's not.
Oh crap! It's an alien movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the greatest hits, guys. There's always a twist after everything's safe.
And this one is just one that got actually a
interesting.
couple of laughs out of my showing.
Real quick, this is kind of almost a variation on the ending of Resurrection. Very much so. For better and worse.
It looks better than it did in Resurrection. But it doesn't look anywhere near as scary.
In Resurrection, if you remember the ending, the alien essentially is giving birth. The alien mother is like on its back with a big old human pregnancy belly, giving birth to an alien human hybrid. In this one, we get a human who's been injected with that goop, and her baby is now an alien human hybrid.
But it kind of has the face of an engineer.
Yes. Yeah, it kind of does. It's an interesting look, like a pin face. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it, but
it looks like a half human, half xenomorph, half engineer.
Whereas like
that shot of it in the egg, and it was falling down, and we just saw the face. I was like, is that a fucking engineer? And then it didn't really look like it after that.
Yeah, I doubt there's photos of it because they probably don't want too much of it going out. But it's an interesting choice. It looks like a horror movie monster, like you'd expect that for Alien. But yeah, it looks like it's almost a human, but like super pale, evil looking face. I think engineer is probably the best way to describe it.
Oh, that last one was cool.
That is a cool poster.
The one before it. Yeah, that's cool. That one's cool too.
There's a couple cool ones. Yeah.
I didn't get the collective bucket. They didn't have them for Alien when I went.
I didn't get it either, but yeah. Unless it's on dirt cheap sale, I don't usually get it. And these are just behind the scenes, so it's not super helpful. Yeah. But yeah, this one definitely has more of a human look than the one from Resurrection, which is almost kind of a skeletal look. I will say this one looks creepier, but I don't know. It's kind of the same vibes I get off Resurrection. I'm kind of
well, yeah.
I don't know if this quite works for me. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah. Now the deaths in this are surprised. They earned that R rating,
dude. So when the one dude is just pretty much having alien blood on him.
Yeah.
There
was that giant like wall vagina thing with the spike that killed the one asshole guy. That was just this like scorpion stinger just came up. It just
Yeah.
roll. Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. The deaths in here are fairly noteworthy. Well done.
The chest burster scene was really good too, because like they focused on the sound of the rib cage, and I went to like the Dolby Digital like experience theater.
Damn.
Yeah, so like just that was all like, well, that's unsettling.
Yes.
That's just
it's a good movie. It's not amazing.
It's a good
I'd
alien
recommend
movie.
it, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did think it was funny. So watching the trailer for this, one of the things it says in the trailer is from the director of Evil Dead. And all I could think at that point was, oh, it's not Sam Raimi, but now I really, really want an alien movie directed by Sam Raimi.
Oh
It's
man.
It's Fade Alvarez Feed Alvarez. I'm slaughtering it, I'm sure, but they directed the Evil Dead remake, which by the way I think is underrated. I think it's
the Cabin in the Woods one, or the High Rise one.
The High Rise. Oh, the Cabin in the Woods one, where essentially you had the woman taking over the astral, which I was thinking I would hate that one. I watched it, I was like, well, this is decent.
Yeah, I kind of thought I would hate it too.
Yeah, and it's not bad.
Really enjoyed
Honestly,
it. Like I
will be
enjoyed
honest, when we're dealing with horror franchises, Evil Dead track record is not remotely bad at all.
No, the show is phenomenal too. Like
yeah. No, I think I've seen all of it now I think about it. And it's all like
it's a shame.
It's all good.
It's a shame it couldn't continue. I mean, Ash is going to return, or Bruce is going to return to play Ash in a cartoon version.
Cartoon?
I'm all about that.
If it's an R-rated cartoon, fuck yeah.
Oh my god, yes.
But this is good.
This is good.
Yeah.
Even with the goofy ass human alien.
Yes. I was more forgiving of this than I was in Resurrection, because this one was actually followed a movie that I overall enjoyed and was actually involved with. And it
followed the trope of it too, of it always evolving. So with that aspect of it, I'm cool, because that fits with the lore. I still don't know why David had to say, "Get away from her, you bitch." That's really my only complaint.
Or Andy, yeah. That one is the most like,
No, like when he jumped and landed, I go, "Oh no, he's not." It's like, "Get away from her." Oh god damn it. Don't you fucking say it.
Although, I mean, you are bringing up David, and I will say that is one thing with Prometheus and Covenant that kind of drove me nuts. As much as I love Michael Fassbender as an actor, his sus android David was kind of annoying. I was just like, guys, are you not suspicious of him at all?
I don't like that they left that whole thing just open.
Yeah.
That's the most.
David's alive and well, according to the franchise right now.
Unnerving part for me. Like,
who knows? But yeah,
and it could even be taken back to like why AI is bad.
So, I would say if you watched if your big issue with Prometheus and Covenant was that like you didn't feel it was intense enough or graphic enough, then Romulus is exactly the movie you're looking for. I'd put it probably in the same range as those ones, where it's like it's not amazing, but it's an entertaining, good time.
Yeah, and their use of practical effects in this too was impressive.
Yeah,
like, I can tell within the CGI.
Spotty, but the practical was excellent.
The face huggers were all like remote mostly, which was
you could tell, but I was
awesome.
down for it. Yeah,
I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah. I'm not really like I would love to actually talk to Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker about a lot of their actual takes. And you know what? I thought we would go over some Alien Romulus. That just came out. I saw it a few days ago. Let's see what Critical Drinker has to say about that one.
I think it's fair to say that the Alien franchise hasn't exactly gone from strength to strength over the years. Yeah, it opened strong with one of the greatest horror movies of all time, followed by an action-packed sequel that retained the tension and horror while upping the stakes and pacing. Then it all started to go downhill with a grim, mean-spirited third installment that spoiled everyone's fun, and a weird, tacky, cash-grab fourth movie that we don't talk about now. After trying and
I mean, he's just setting up the franchise, but not wrong. Now, I'm sure, like, okay, Alien vs. Predator suck, especially the second one. Prometheus and Covenant, I've talked about this on podcast. I'm okay with those movies. I appreciate them for trying something bold, even though I don't think it really worked. Yes, the characters act fucking stupid, especially in Prometheus. But, like, I appreciate trying something new with the franchise, even though it didn't quite work.
And failing twice to cross over with the Predator franchise, we were subjected to a pair of overblown, overhyped prequels that tried to answer questions nobody wanted to ask, and proved that film directors don't always get better with age. And honestly,
I don't think, like, I think those movies could have been better. I don't completely disagree, but like I said, I have a soft spot for them. I think they're all right. I think if you really like the first two, Prometheus and Covenant are fun extensions on it. They're not nearly as good, but they're fine.
that really felt like the end. Every possible avenue had been explored, every permutation of the original concept had been tried, and the poor old xenomorphs had finally been defeated by the one enemy.
I imagine he's going to say the one enemy that finally defeated him is capitalism. Well, let's see what he actually says. Probably corporate greed. I don't know. It's capitalism, though. Capitalism destroyed them. They could still make good... Like, honestly, like, I went over it on the podcast if you watched. Romulus is fine. I put it in the same range as Covenant and Prometheus. Except it's different. So Prometheus and Covenant really tried to be something bold and different, and it didn't quite work, but it was entertaining and it was fine. You know, like especially Prometheus. Visually, Prometheus is fucking stunning. Like, it's almost worth watching just for the visuals on that one. And as for Romulus, Romulus isn't nearly as bold as those movies. It doesn't have great aspirations. Romulus is going for just being an alien horror movie. And I think an argument can be made, like, it's more successful than the other two because it actually is pretty much hitting what it wants. Now, it's not trying to be as good as Alien or Aliens, and it's not remotely. But, you know, there's some real tension, and they do some creative stuff with the aliens. Some alien blood stuff they do really creatively. Some of the face huggers they do really creatively. It's not bad. It's not bad. But anyways, I assumed you were talking about Critical Drinker, Byron.
That even they couldn't overcome corporate greed. But hey...
Not completely wrong. Not completely wrong, Drinker. I will give you that. Criticize capitalism more. I'll agree with you more.
When you're a creatively and morally bankrupt studio that's paid an obscene amount of money for 20th...
I see. You're going to attack this movie just because it's a Disney bought the franchise, and it is part of their narrative to attack Disney. Doesn't matter if there are actually creative people involved who did a good job. Gotta attack Disney unless it's so overwhelmingly popular.
Century Fox and all the IPs under their banner, you're gonna find a way to dig just a little deeper. Which brings me neatly along to Alien Romulus. Ditching the pretentious, high-minded philosophy of the Prometheus movies, the trailers instead promised a more stripped-down, back-to-basics approach to the Alien franchise. A smaller budget.
Yeah, and that's what the movie delivered, in case you're wondering. That's pretty much it.
Budget, practical effects, and a return to the retro-futuristic production design of the earlier movies. So far so good, but does it actually deliver? Well, watching Alien Prometheus feels like two very different movies awkwardly bolted together. The first one is a tight, well-paced sci-fi thriller with a simple...
He said Alien Prometheus there. Did he mean Alien Romulus? He did say Prometheus there, right?
The first one is a tight, well-paced... Prometheus feels like two very different movies awkwardly bolted together. The first one is a tight, well-paced sci-fi thriller with a simple premise, great production design, a small cast of characters, an intriguing mystery, and some excellent performances by talented actors. In short, it's a simple but effective foundation for what could have been a decent Alien movie. The problems begin when setup has to give way to
Okay, let's see where he goes.
Execution, and the tension gets squandered by the predictable horror tropes of dumb characters making dumb decisions, protracted chase scenes, shameless key jangling, and repurposed dialogue. And by the end, all sense of logic.
I don't know if the characters, like Prometheus definitely had characters doing dumb shit just to get the story along. I don't know if Romulus really had that. Like, there's even this great moment where you have the character, like, there's this glass door, and you have this one pregnant woman on one side, and then our two, like, the main character and the android who can unlock the door, and another character on the other side of the door. And they know there's an alien on the one with the one on the other side. They're like, you got to unlock the door, let the woman through. Now we look through and we see behind the woman, we just have an alien just crouching, just chilling. And the android Andy goes, nope, I'm not opening the door. And they're like, no, you got to open it. We got to save her. And he's like, no. It's just waiting for us to open the door. And eventually the alien does give up on waiting and kills her, or attacks her, actually. There will probably be some spoilers here. But, yeah, it was the smart call was to not open the door. The android's like, yeah, I understand. You want me to open the door to save her. That's a bad fucking call. And yeah, it was a pretty cool scene. It reminded me a lot of the Alien scene where Ripley's like, we can't let you guys in. You guys got to decontaminate. And Dallas overrode her. And then Ash went ahead and opened it because that was the whole point. Ash wanted to get the alien on there because he's working for the company. But yes, it was a good scene. It, like, Alien Romulus is, like, if you're looking for just a cool alien horror movie, Alien Romulus is probably right up your alley. It's not as cool or thoughtful as the first Alien or Aliens, but it's fun. There's actually tense moments in it where I was like, oh shit, are they gonna make it? And the guy who plays Andy fucking knocks it out of the park. He was amazing.
Logic and consequences goes completely out the window, and the film devolves into mindless action and goofy attempts at body horror. Now, I suspect I'm going to take a lot of flack for saying this because for some
Okay, what do you consider a goofy attempt at body horror? Because I thought it did that pretty well, unless you're talking about the ending, which we can get to.
reason everyone fucking loves this movie, but what the hell? I am become Drinker, the destroyer of dreams. Anyway, grab your pulse rifle and motion tracker and let's begin, shall we?
Well, I mean, everyone loves. I don't know if everybody loves this movie. Plenty of people are fine with it. I don't know if love's quite right, but yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's go with your anti-Disney stuff. Let's see.
Romulus is set about 20 years after the events of the original Alien, and it kicks off with a Weyland-Yutani ship recovering the original xenomorph from the wreckage of the Nostromo. Now, I'm pretty sure that the Nostromo was vaporized by not one, but 3 thermonuclear explosions. And the xenomorph was blasted out into space from Ripley's escape pod, so the chances of actually finding it 2 decades later are about equal to finding an attractive woman at a Warhammer convention, but man, it's...
But they did find one, and that's what they're going with. I don't know what the big deal is. The whole, like, would you rather they just went to the planet where the aliens were and grabbed it from there? They could do that too. Maybe they did. Who knows?
It sure is cool to see stuff from the original movie, am I right? Keep that little writing philosophy in mind because it'll be important later. Anyway, the real action picks up with our main character Rain, who works as a labourer on a mining planet run by the company. She lives with a decommissioned android named Andy, who acts as a kind of adopted brother for her. Anyway, she's not exactly thrilled to be trapped on a planet where it's dark 24 hours a day and the life expectancy hovers somewhere around medieval Europe. Honestly, love, try living in Scotland, it seems like a picnic by comparison. But when her contract gets extended due to labour shortages, it's pretty obvious that the company is never actually going to let her leave. That's when
Yep, that is true. We're going over the movie. Those are things that happen in the movie.
she's contacted by her ex-boyfriend Tyler with news that a derelict space station has been detected orbiting the planet. Tyler and his crew plan to head up there in a cargo hauler, steal some cryopods, and use them to travel to a much nicer planet a few light years away. The catch is that they need Andy's help because he's the only one who can interface with the station's computer. Before you can ask questions like, why is nobody else investigating this space station? Or, wouldn't Weyland-Yutani have sent out their own recovery team for it? Rain and the others are on their
Wow, yes. Wouldn't Wayland Yutani have gone out to the space station and recovered it? Unless there's a reason for them not to go out there. Like, come on, Drinker. While I was watching it, I knew. Yeah. Oh. There's aliens on that ship and they abandoned it. That's fucking obvious, Drinker. Come on. Come on. Like, it's something that obviously the characters in the movie aren't going to know, because why would they? But as someone who watches this stuff and understands what type of movie he's getting into and kind of has a grasp, the faintest grasp on this universe, I understood, oh, they left a space station up there abandoned. Why would they do that? Probably because there's a fuck ton of aliens on there.
Way. They make it on board and discover that the station isn't derelict at all. In fact, it was some kind of classified research facility experimenting on the xenomorph, and well, it went about as well as you might expect. The other problem is that its orbit is decaying, so they only have
Why grab the cam footage, bro? The cam footage looks terrible.
a few hours to find what they need, get back to their ship and get the hell out of there. Not bad. A small group of characters with a clear objective, a ticking clock, a dangerous threat to contend with, and some interpersonal tension to ratchet up the drama. Not exactly revolutionary, but a decent foundation for a neat little alien adventure.
True.
Unfortunately, this is where the script starts to go off the rails. One of the crew gets infected by a facehugger and tries to escape on the cargo hauler, but oh no, the chestburster kills her just as they're lifting off. You know,
Okay, so you're missing out lots of context on that one. So they were able to remove the face hugger very early on. The face hugger started the implantation. It got, it wasn't on there actually super long. They were able to freeze the tail of the face hugger and kind of just yank it off. And they were informed that that it probably still had a 60% chance of implantation. But yeah, the attitude was, fuck it, let's go. There's a good, 40%, maybe, I think that's also worth stressing. These guys haven't dealt with a face hugger before. They just have an android there who has dealt with a face hugger who warned them of that. But they don't really know what they're dealing with. They're like, okay, she's fine. Let's just get out of here. They don't know what they're dealing with. They don't know it's going to burst out of the chest. They don't know these details. As audience members, yes, we do, Drinker. But you have to keep in mind there's a difference between what the audience knows and what the characters know. There's very much a difference.
I'm pretty sure that the whole process from facehugger to chestburster is supposed to take a couple of days, but now it's basically instantaneous for the sake.
I did think it was very early, but again, keep in mind, they yanked it off early. It was all partial. It was all very rushed. And it's also worth knowing when the chestburster does hit out, this one's slow. This one does not rush out like we're used to. It's kind of, it's freaky and it just kind of dribbles out. It's no rushing out. So there's all types of half-assery going on with this alien.
A plot convenience. And oh no, the cargo hauler crashes into the station and causes a big explosion that pushes it off orbit and then comes to rest completely intact in a hangar on the other side of the station.
I wouldn't say completely intact, but yeah, it mostly survives because it's not going a million miles an hour. But yes, it does kind of go adrift and crash into the ship a little bit because there's an alien that's freaking them out and they're not handling it well.
Wow, that was a lucky chain of events. Lucky it didn't just tumble off into space or get completely destroyed like the dropship from Aliens. Remember that?
Yeah, that was a much rougher landing on with a much smaller ship. Drinker, some things are different than other things. It's not the same thing, Drinker. Pay attention, bro.
Remember how it triggered an overload in the atmosphere processor, so the characters had to find a way to escape? The writers of this script certainly do. And while I'm on that subject, that's not the only idea that they borrowed from other movies. Remember the pulse rifles? Remember Ash? Remember the alien hive? Remember the laser mist? Remember the black goo?
What was that black goo?
Remember the alien Skeletor baby? Remember the fourth act stinger? Remember this line?
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
Or this line?
But you have my sympathies.
Or this line?
Get away from her, you bitch.
Okay, I will say most of those lines, I thought they weaved in pretty well, with the huge exception of "Get away from her, you bitch." That felt wonky. And add to it, like this takes place like 40 years before the second Alien. So, like, what did she get that line from him? That felt wonky. For the most part, I thought they weaved in fairly well. Easter eggs like that are fine. Especially like I actually thought the black goo was a good one to add in because that's Prometheus. That's not something that a lot of people really like. Prometheus has gotten shit on a lot. I think it's nice to give it a little bit of appreciation in that regard. But yes, we got a little bit of Return of the Black Goo.
Heard enough of this, and I'm asking you to pull the plug.
Honestly, I could probably spend about 2 hours listing all the stuff this film shamelessly steals from other movies in the franchise, but for the sake of brevity, I'll move on. So the main objective...
But are you gonna mention all the stuff it does creatively? Like, it brings a lot from other franchises, but plays with them in very creative ways, I think. Are you gonna bring that up? Let's see.
Now is for the gang to hike across the station, avoid the aliens.
Oh, you gonna bring up that? Like, you just played a brief clip of it. So, I guess kind of spoilers here.
The aliens, recover the cargo hauler, and escape before the whole place goes boom. Oh yeah, and Andy's been upgraded with a new operating...
Okay, here we go. This is Alien Blood. So, give you a little bit, little spoilers here. They end up in pretty much at dead end. They have a gun, but they're on the bottom of the station. So if they start shooting, the aliens are going to bleed out, and it's just going to go straight to the vacuum of space and kill them all. So what she does to compete that is she kills the gravity. She kills the gravity, kills the aliens that are coming after her, but then you end up with these pools of blood. They're just circling around all over the place. And then her and Andy have to weave through this blood. And it's actually really tense and well done. They have to weave through this blood and try to avoid it. And we see like all types of shit. She has to use the gun to kind of move around when, there's a point where the blood's coming right at her. She just has to let go of the railing and kind of push off. But then to avoid other, it's well done. And it's even well set up because we actually have one of the more terrifying alien deaths where a dude gets killed with alien blood just slowly getting dripped on him. Just like, oh, it's well done. Like I said, yes, it does lots of callbacks, but uses them in very creative ways, I think. It's one of the strengths of the movie. With the exception of Get Away From Her, you bitch. That was a bit tacked on. That was like...
Across the station, avoid the aliens, recover the cargo hauler, and escape before the whole place goes boom. Oh yeah, and Andy's been upgraded with a new operating system, so he's like Super Andy now. But can they still trust him, or is he now a servant of the company? What's the true
At that point, he's pretty much serving the company, yes.
Purpose behind the research here, and will any of them make it out alive? Now, I don't want to go all in on the negativity right off the bat. There are things...
Thank you. Well, you don't want to go on the negative off the bat. That's most of what this has been so far.
Things in Romulus that I really appreciated, so let's go through them first. The cinematography, production design, props, costumes, and soundtrack are all excellent. They've successfully replicated the look and feel of the original movie, and I appreciated the opening segment on the mining colony that gives us an actual window into what it's like for normal people working on a Weyland-Yutani worlds. I like the early hints that humans are struggling with deep space colonization, hence the attempts to mix them with alien DNA to make them stronger. Yeah, the payoff doesn't make much sense when you realise the solution is to turn all of humanity into horrifyingly deformed monsters, or the fact that they already have perfect workers in the form of androids who never
Yeah, my assumption is the humans are still cheaper than making androids.
Get tired or sick or have to be paid, but whatever. I like the fact that this project was done on a pretty modest budget of 80 million without sacrificing quality or scope, proving that you don't need hundreds of millions of dollars to deliver a top-notch visual.
For the most part, like all the stuff you're going over, this is like a huge chunk of the movie, bro.
Experience. It uses a lot of practical effects. There's some decent gore and body horror, and the production probably saved a ton of money by not hiring any big name actors. On that subject, the cast all do a reasonable job. I say reasonable rather than great because they're nowhere near as memorable as the crew of the Nostromo, for example, partly because the decision to cast a bunch of 20-somethings robs them of some much needed gravitas, and partly because the script doesn't tell us a whole lot about them despite the amount of time we actually spend with them.
We get little bits with them. We don't like honestly. What we know about them is that they're minors and they're stuck, and they want their freedom, and we kind of understand that. I do find it interesting. Essentially, Drinker has said everything in this movie is really good except what? Maybe the script? Is that it? And even elements of the script he seems to be praising. He praises the beginning. He praises the setup. But apparently, like, let's see, is this a negative review or is he going to come out and say positive stuff? Is he going to say it's positive?
In Alien, I felt like I knew the crew pretty well within like the first 15 minutes, but by the end of Romulus, I struggled to name a single character or what their personality was like because they all have the same background, played by actors of roughly the same age. The only exception to all of this is
they all have the same background.
David Johnson, who does a superb job playing two completely different versions of the same character in
I agree.
Andy. It's great stuff, and he really captures the innocent vulnerability of a being that's trying his best to fit in without really understanding the people around him. Kaylee Speeney is fine as Rain, I guess. She doesn't have
I thought she was pretty good.
Sigourney Weaver's intensity and charisma or Numi Rapace's physicality, but she gets the job done without too much fuss. Rain's likeable enough, and her relationship with Andy is a nice twist on the usual dynamics we see in films like this, even if it doesn't come close to the emotional impact of Ripley and Newt. The actors are fun.
Yeah, it's not going to be Ripley or Newt.
Fine, the director's good and the production is excellent. The only real problem is the script, especially the third act, which throws...
Okay, so it's the script. So yeah, I guess... What, third act? Like, okay, so yeah, the third act, in case you are wondering, we'll see how far he gets into spoilers. Yes, the third act stinger, kind of, because these Alien movies, there's usually like a hidden villain at the end. This third act hidden villain is very much inspired by the third act villain from Resurrection. I think they handle it better here, but it's a similar idea.
Was so much ridiculous shit at you that it honestly feels like it was lifted from a completely different movie. Before you know it, characters will be flying up and down elevators.
So, I mean, is that your argument, Drinker, that this movie is actually pretty good, except for the third act, like, little stinger villain? Because I honestly, like, I wasn't even thrilled with that, but I overall came away and thought, it's a pretty good movie.
Shafts fighting aliens while the gravity...
Yeah, apparently the girl boss in this one's decent. Sure, why not?
He goes haywire, or shooting a swarm of them with a pulse rifle and acting surprised when acid blood goes flying everywhere, or injecting themselves with the black goo for no reason, so...
Okay, so injecting themselves with the black goo. It's because she was told it would help her move around. Now the crew didn't want to do that to her because they felt the whole situation was sus. She had less experience. She was told it would help her, so she did it. Now we know, as the audience, that doesn't. But the crew, the main characters, did not see the same information we were shown. So we know taking that black goo is a terrible idea. These crew members, some of them think it's sus, so they don't like inject her with it. She does it to herself because she has less experience than even they do. But yes, that's why she does it. As far as being surprised with the alien blood, the only time I know of being surprised about the alien blood was the first kill with the alien blood. If like the fuck, like even the Cine shows.
He goes haywire, or shooting a swarm of them with a pulse rifle and acting surprised when acid blood goes flying everywhere, or...
Okay, so that's the scene I was telling you guys about, where they're up against a wall, and she turns off the gravity because she knows the blood will sink down to the floor and instantly make a vacuum, so she has to prevent that blood from going down. Like, that's a complete misrepresentation of that scene, Drinker. You know that, right? She is not surprised by the alien blood. She's expecting the alien blood. How, Drinker, like that? Why are you misrepresenting that scene so brute? Like, Drinker. Direct question: why are you brutally misrepresenting this scene? Completely misrepresenting it.
Blood goes flying everywhere, or injecting themselves with the black goo for no reason so that they can give birth to an alien baby that instantly transforms into a 10-foot-tall human xenomorph engineer hybrid for yet another climactic showdown. The script just never lets up. It doesn't know when to quit, and instead of being exhilarating, and it just becomes kind of tedious and exhausting by the end. All that carefully crafted tension and world building just goes out of the window in a confusing maelstrom of what I can best describe as J.J. Abrams' brand of rapid fire stupidity. Just keep hitting the audience with more idiotic stuff that makes zero sense but looks really good, so they never have time to stop and think about it before the next dumb thing comes along. Basically, Romulus has got a strong opening, a slightly shaky middle, and a finale that screws the pooch so hard that the pooch is going to be in therapy for the rest of its natural life. It's not exactly a terrible movie, but it's definitely not great either, and what's frustrating is that all the right elements were there to deliver something so much better than what we got. And what's weird is that people seem to be going nuts over this film. It's had a huge opening weekend, and if you believe the chatter online, it's
a very solid opening weekend. It's not pulling Deadpool and Wolverine numbers, but it's doing fine.
It's the greatest thing since Sigourney Weaver picked up a pulse rifle.
I mean, there's lots of people who are calling it the third best Alien movie, but let's face it, that's not a huge bar. Like, I've seen lots of people liking it online, but I haven't seen people, like, freaking out. I don't know where Drinker's getting that from.
People who think that way, I would politely suggest they go back and rewatch the first two Aliens movies, really think about how they worked, how they handle their characters.
Dude, I've seen absolutely zero people say it's better than the first two. That does not exist, Drinker. Show me an example of people saying it's better than the first two. Holy shit. Or even on par.
And relationships and escalate the tension and stakes while staying fairly believable, and then come back and tell me what you really think about Romulus. Somehow, I don't think you'll be quite so positive. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
That was actually kind of interesting. It's kind of like backhanded the way he did it. Because, like, he said, hey, I like most of the movie, but I have to dislike it, so I'm going to really shit on the ending, and the ending's a little wonky. I'll give you that. But I just find that an interesting take, and yeah. That's actually kind of interesting. Not quite what I expected, but I don't know. It is kind of typical Drinker backhanded stuff, where it's like, I don't know, it was really fucking good. All this, like 99% of the movie was really good, but you know what? It's Disney, so it sucks. I did get that vibe. Anyways, you know what? Nerdrotic has a video on this very same topic, so we're going to dive right in and see what points he says. So, Critical Drinkers, Alien Romulus, game over, man, game over. Reference to the second movie. Okay. Alien Romulus review, a disappointing repurpose disaster. Let's see what Nerdrotic says.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million hellions and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet.
Yep. Got it. Listen, he brags about those numbers because that's what he has. He has numbers instead of facts and data and actual good opinions. That's what he has, numbers.
The immortal words of every woman who's ever lived, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Thus is the story of Alien Romulus, or Alien 1.5, the, ironically enough, mid-middle movie, and a year overloaded with prequels and sequels filled with cameos, key jangling member berries, repurposed dialogue, repurposed scenes, repurposed characters, and derivative stories. There is Alien Romulus, which can be both a prequel and...
I mean, I think it's interesting because a lot of the examples he brought up were Furiosa, which was pretty good. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, which is pretty good. So like those are the two most prominent examples I saw there, and they're both pretty fucking good. Let's see what else. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, I feel, got shit on poorly. So like, I actually think the ending of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is actually worse than the ending of Alien Romulus by quite a bit. That being said, Frozen Empire had really fucking good build-up towards the final ghost. And when the ghost finally pops up, it's disappointing. But the build-up was really good and really engaging. And Dan Aykroyd, god damn, he was amazing in that movie. He did a great job. I love Ray in that movie. Winston gets some good stuff. Winston probably has the biggest role in the entire Ghostbusters franchise in that movie, which goddamn, he needs some love. Winston's great. But yeah, Frozen Empire, I really felt got unfairly shit on. That was totally decent. Yes, disappointing ending, but decent movie.
And a sequel, which is distributed by Disney, who at their recent D23 conference announced more prequels and sequels. That most likely will be filled with cameos.
Okay. Yes. So if we want to get into some serious issues with Hollywood, Gary, I am down. Let's have a chat at Gary sometime. We can talk about the franchise issue, because that's the thing. Franchise movies make money, even though the numbers are going down, they still make money. So they're still going to do franchise movies because that name recognition is guaranteed to bring people in. They still are. We can discuss the problem with that. It's part of capitalism destroying, a lot of this stuff, like just running shit into the ground. Oh, this made money. Let's make a sequel. Let's make a prequel. And I'm not saying it's all bad, but I am saying I wouldn't mind some more fucking original movies. And, there are plenty of indie movies and stuff like that. You should go out and support them. But, the studios don't really make indie movies. They make big sequels and stuff like that. I won't mind if they picked up more indie movies and pushed them out there. That's a serious conversation to be had. Gary, what's not a serious conversation to have? MCU. That's not a serious conversation. That's a dumb conversation. Let's go in.
Key jangling and member berries, repurposed dialogue.
Yes, D23 is literally meant to be key jangling, Gary. Why would you criticize it for that? It's literally meant to be like, hey, look, this is the stuff we have. That's the point of the goddamn thing. It's a goddamn convention. The fuck, Gary? I can't believe they're promoting their upcoming projects that their convention. Yes, Gary, that's the fucking point, bro. If you're pissed, don't watch or go. What the fuck?
Repurposed scenes, repurposed characters, and derivative storytelling. To be fair, Alien Romulus is not a prequel or a sequel. It's, and I quote, an interquel, a subcategory of midquel, taking place between the events of Alien and Aliens. That just so happens to be filled with
Did you really need to grab a quote, Gary? Yes, it takes place 20 years after Alien and 40 years before Aliens. Do you need to grab the quote? The movie pretty much sets up the timeline for you. It's right there. Jesus.
a cameo, key jangling, member berries, repurposed dialogue, repurposed scenes, and derivative characters. This time, the Xenomorphs are up against Gen Z.
They did, Grayson, they did announce some original content, but yeah, it was mostly dominated by sequels and prequels. That is true. But yeah, they did do a couple of original stuff. It felt like it was kind of tied in at the end, but yes, they did.
In space. When I heard that, I was sold until I watched the film. It started out okay and then was completely destroyed by a bad ending.
Impact. Event in...
Oh, this is interesting. Is this going to be a lot like the Critical Drinker thing? Because it seems like he's setting up to be just what the Critical Drinker said.
5, 4, 3.
Let's play a clip from the trailer. Just pad this out. Okay. I mean, usually you do something like this to set up tension, but Gary, I don't need tension set up for your review.
Alien Ramalama Ding Dong opens up with the ship running across the Xenomorph.
Oh, that was funny. He rhymed it with he's hilarious, isn't he?
Or from the first of the only 2 Alien films in deep space. What? Oh yeah, right next to the wreckage of the Nostromo, which was blown up in the first of the only 2 Alien films. What the fuck? The story centers around Rain Carradine, who we will call for the rest of this video Rip Offly, who is an orphan on the planet Jackson Star.
Wow. I am just now this is just reminding me that holy shit. So Critical Drinker drives me nuts. He's the biggest movie reviewer on YouTube, and he spreads lots of toxic shit on his channel. But goddamn, Gary is just so much worse. I mean, holy crap. Oh god, this is gonna be a chore. Jesus Christ.
And an employee of Weyland Yutani, who screw her over and give her extra work hours after she was due to leave. After this, coincidentally enough, Rip Offly and her synthetic brother Andy, who's in dire need of an update, are contacted by some of their fellow Gen Zers who hatched a plan to escape to another system with better living conditions. As far as the accurate depiction of Gen Z goes, you completely had me when they all want to quit their jobs, but the suspension of disbelief falls.
Whoa! fucking hell. Yes. Yes, let's shit on people who are being abused by the corporate system for wanting to quit. Listen, guys, you should just suck up and work like a slave. Work like a slave until you fucking die. For fuck's sake, Gary. Jesus.
Apart when the film says they actually worked.
Got him!
Anywho, the plan is to steal.
The fuck? There's plenty of Gen Zers who work, Gary. Like, holy shit. Like, just shit on all of Gen Z? The fuck is wrong with you, bro?
A ship and then go after some cryo chambers on a nearby decommissioned space station for the 9-year trip. But it turns out poor Andy the synth was only brought along because he can speak mother. And then he's gonna get left behind because they don't allow synths on the planet they're heading to. Our plucky Gen Zers managed.
Yep, and there's a very sad scene between Rain where she feels sorry about it, and then yeah, they have to deal with that because Andy, like, they deal with that, and Andy says, "My primary directive is to help you, Rain. If you need me to do this, I'll do this." And that's something they have to work throughout the movie. It's actually well done. I like the characters and their interactions between Rain and Andy. It's really good.
To steal a spaceship and make it to the decommissioned base that's split into 2 parts, Remus and Romulus. After rebooting the system, which brought back online the gravity and, more importantly, the atmosphere, they find the cryo chambers pretty quickly, but there's one problem. They don't have enough cryo fuel, so now they have to go across the station to find some more, and that's where the problems begin. After being attacked by facehuggers after the system reboot, our plucky Gen Zers separate. Another lost opportunity to reach the modern audience. You didn't have one of these Gen Zers posting this attack on their version of TikTok or the Whalen Yutani Slack. After losing their
So, isn't that a good thing, Gary? Like, you're making up a thing to complain about. Like, is this supposed to be funny? Like, is that supposed to be a joke? Like, obviously it's supposed to be a joke, but, like, it's not funny. The fuck are you doing, Gary? This is just like, I'm going to use this movie review as an opportunity to kind of say what the Critical Drinker says, but I'm also going to shit on Gen Z for being on social media, which, by the way, Gary, you're on social media too. I'm just, you know what? How often do you tweet, buddy? All right. 53 minutes ago, 2 hours ago, 4 hours ago, 6 hours ago, 7 hours ago, 8 hours ago, 11 hours ago, 21 hours ago, yesterday, 2 days ago, 2 days ago, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Gary, are you serious? You're gonna shit on somebody for posting on social media with that type of activity, bro? Come on, man.
Reverse Gen Z pilot when she gives birth to a xenomorph, something you surprisingly don't see a lot in this film. It's a race to survive while trying to avoid the facehuggers, and the xenomorphs find the cryo fuel and do all this before the space station falls into the rings of Jackson's star. And it turns out this space station wasn't decommissioned at
Ha 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 ha.
all. Everyone on board was killed. How did we find this out?
And he has the pirated footage too. It's interesting. So I feel like at this point, we'll see, but it feels like Gary and Critical Drinker are making like the same fucking video, except somehow Gary's is so much fucking worse.
In the now grand Hollywood tradition of, at the very least, questionable cameos of characters played by dead actors, including but not limited to Peter Cushing's Tarkin, Carrie Fisher's Leia, and Harold Ramis's Egon. We have the return and...
I actually thought Harold Ramis's Egon was done really well with the, misting it up, so I thought it looked solid. It looked better than Ash did in this movie. I'll give you that. I'm actually surprised Critical Drinker didn't give that. That's an obvious thing to criticize this movie for. The CGI to make the android Ash, not great. No.
In my opinion, the desecration of the late, great Ian Holm, may he rest in peace. Or in this case, we'll call him...
The desecration of Ian Holm? They could have done a better job with the CGI, but what? How? Gary? How's that desecration? It was a cool idea, not really well executed. But it was a cool idea. They don't like do anything fucked up with his character. It's not even the same character. It's just the same model.
Team America's Ian Holm, playing Brooke, totally not Ash, in a movie that admittedly had pretty good effects.
Yes, he's a same model of it's he's a synthetic, right? He's a synthetic. They can make multiple synthetics look the same, bro. You are aware that, like, in Alien 3, we see, like, in Alien 2 and Alien 3, we have, like, essentially two separate Bishop models, right? Or at least the one is strongly implied to be a Bishop model. We know this. This has been already established.
Effects, including some pretty good practical effects. This was embarrassing, forced, and unnecessary. I know you're...
Yeah, the CGI could have been better. They've done better CGI in the past. I mean, Ant-Man was 9 years ago at this point. That's still some of the best de-aging CGI. It's not as good here.
Playing with the time, but Lance Henriksen is still alive. And some might suggest bringing back Michael Fassbender, which would make more sense. Unfortunately, it wouldn't.
Well, obviously, it was more of a callback to the first one because the space station looked a lot like the first one. Now, you could maybe say Bishop, the issue being it's not established at this point that Bishop models actually exist in this time. It is established Ash absolutely exists.
Because there's only 2 Alien films. And what makes it worse is
there's only, like, he does that. There's only 2 Alien movies. Listen, dude, the first 2 are the best. I will give you that. I will give you that. They're not the only ones. And if you want to, like, do a micro headcanon and pretend like they're only ones, that's fine. But, like, when you're preaching to your audience there's only 2, that's just, it's a weird argument. And it is a thought-terminating cliche. Because, what, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, now 9. There's 9 Alien movies. Unless I'm forgetting one. Of varying degrees of quality, too. Like, I think Prometheus and Covenant are all right. The first 2 are still the best.
He's in a lot of the film, providing a series of info dumps. While there are a lot of references...
That is true. He's pretty much an exposition machine.
To the 2 Alien films, there's also references to other films, which doesn't make very much sense to me because there's only 2 Alien films. One of them, unfortunately, was Prometheus, and don't...
Oh, look, there's only 2 Alien movies, but here's Prometheus, by the way, an Alien movie. Gary, this is why this is a dumb rhetoric.
Don't worry, there's one that's worse. Weyland-Yutani apparently was experimenting with fusing aspects of a xenomorph with a human to create the perfect human, which in truth is the perfect worker who can survive hostile environments. Far be it from me to point out that you already have that with the androids.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
Well, I'm assuming it's cheaper. I'm assuming they're looking for cheaper options because the androids never struck me as particularly cheap. Keep in mind, they do these missions, but they only send 1 android, which tells me they're not the cheapest things to make and maintain.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
And after rebooting Andy, Matt Damon Ian Holm gives him a new primary function, which used to be protecting Riboffley, and now it's protecting the company. Now the only way to escape is to go back to Jackson's Hole.
I am still amazed, people. Like, this is rough. Like, I watched Critical Drinker video, and it sucks, but it's like, I don't know, it's watchable? This is, like, I don't even understand how he could get 1 million subs watching this. This is, I guess it's decently edited, but this is terrible. Like, you want to talk about bad scripts? The script for this review is atrocious. I mean, Critical Drinker, I could say, is probably, I mean, I've kind of played around with it, and it seems like his is kind of, might be a bit AI generated, tinkered a bit. But, you know, it's a script. Like, this is just terrible. This is, Oh,
I'm sorry, Jackson's star with the samples because that's the only way Mother will let them back on the ship. Overall, the first 3/4 of Alien Romulus are fine. Very average, despite that cringe Matt Damon Ian Holm. The directing from Fede Alvarez was solid, so was the editing. The acting was fine. Most of the CG was pretty good, particularly the space station descending into the rings. Again, surprisingly, there was more face huggers than xenomorphs, but I didn't have a problem with that. Some will say this is a return to Alien's horror roots. I will say,
Jesus Christ, this is exactly like the Critical Drinker, except much worse.
say this is a return to what we've gotten since the release of the last Alien movie, Aliens, up into a certain point, and we'll get to that. Aesthetically, they nailed it. The production design, the art direction, the xenomorph.
Why are you shitting on this movie so much and then going over and talk about, oh yeah, there's actually good stuff here? I feel like this is kind of what they have to do because it's a Disney thing. So we kind of have to shit on the Disney thing, but like at the same time, lots of people are liking this, so we have to, we have to give it some kudos. And I think it's interesting how similar this is to Critical Drinker. This is very similar, except worse somehow.
Morphs, the costumes, the props, the technology all stayed in line with the only two Alien films. Our plucky group of Gen Zers weren't terrible in this film. They were very serviceable victims to the xenomorph who I was rooting for.
Wait, you've made fun of all the Gen Zers for just being younger, and now you're saying, oh yeah, they're fine. Consistency, please?
For by the end, with the exception of the one standout for me, Andy the synth. Not simp, synth. I like what they did when they essentially made him the special needs little brother, and then after the
yes, he's a synthetic, he's programmed to protect her. Jesus.
The reboot turned him into the possible adversary, and back, it definitely made him the most fleshed out human character in this. But then there's all the repurposed scenes and repurposed dialogue, including but not limited to,
you have my sympathies. But you have my sympathies.
I mean, that actually makes sense because he's a synthetic, he's programmed with certain things, and it makes sense he would say that in similar situations. Okay, die, motherfucker. We're really gonna go after die, motherfucker, because I'm sure Aliens was the first movie to make that line, and no other movie has ever used it. It's completely original to like, are you fucking serious on that one? This movie borrows so much, and you're going for die, motherfucker? Come on.
Get away from her, you bitch!
And I already said this one's cringe.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Oh, come on!
And if Alien Romulus.
So, without the die, motherfucker, because come on, man. Come on, die, motherfucker. Without that, you have two examples. And one of them is like, yeah, of course he would. He's the same model android. Of course he would.
Romulus ended at roughly the 1 hour and 34-minute mark, things would have been fine. Unfortunately, it didn't. This brings us to the final act where they went full Prometheus, resurrection, and retard. One of our plucky Gen Zers was pregnant.
Yeah, nice Arsler. I guess it references Prometheus, but yeah, this is mostly a redo of Resurrection. It's not as well done, or not as well done. It's better done than Resurrection. I'm sorry. It does it better than Resurrection, in my opinion. It's still not great, but
Now, she was caught by a xenomorph and put into a cocoon, but she wasn't a host. She's freed by Ripoff Lee and her brother, but grievously wounded.
Is that cover of Pink Floyd playing in the background? Don't be bringing Pink Floyd into your videos, Gary. Pink Floyd is awesome. You are not. No.
So, when she's sent back to the ship to go straight to a cryo chamber to recover from her wounds, instead she shoots herself up with xenomorph juice.
I'm kind of disgusted he's using Pink Floyd. I'm wearing a Pink Floyd shirt. I'm disgusted he's playing Pink Floyd right now. Ah, Gary, yeah.
Make a long story short, she gives birth to a half-human, half-xenomorph baby, which grows into...
I don't know if it's a cover or a live version. It sounds a little holly. It might be live. He's got me distracted now because he's playing a great song over his terrible fucking video.
To a full adult within a couple of minutes that looks more like Tweaker Alien, who eventually eats her. Now, there were a lot of people in the theater enjoying this and probably being annoyed at my laughing. And wouldn't you know, they killed Tweaker Alien by tossing him out an airlock and then repurposing a line of dialogue from one of the only two Alien films. And the third act took what was at best a blandly competent film and drove it right off a cliff. Keeping in mind that was worse than the good part of Alien Ramalama Ding Dong when they were rolling with the concept that
somehow the xenomorph returned.
What? From the
It's not even somehow the xenomorph return. This takes place between the first and second one. Xenomorphs aren't remotely expected to be gone at this point. Pay attention, Gary.
First of the only two Alien films floating in the void of deep space near pieces of the Nostromo that weren't atomized by a nuclear explosion. And yes, they really wanted you to know it was that xenomorph.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
This is where there might be some unintentional meta commentary because this movie extracts the goo from the only 2 Alien films and mutates and dilutes the rest of the franchise, leaving the door open for more interquels like Alien 1.25 or Alien 1.75. One of the best descriptions I've heard comes from our good friend Robert Meyer Burnett. Remember, authenticity is the currency.
Robert Meyer Burnett. Yeah. It's interesting how you'll go on John Campea and actually give like thoughtful and meaningful opinions, and then he'll go on these guys' streams and just go full chud. It's very interesting.
See the future. When he said, and I'll paraphrase,
and authenticity is not something Gary has remotely. You know, we gotta remind people authenticity. You want to see authentic Gary?
Okay, because you know I really dislike the fake geek thing and the poser nerd thing. That's not what we're about. We're about inclusiveness, and we want new people in. And if new people, you know, spout off and make mistakes, hey, don't we all?
There. That is Gary being authentic. That's not what we're getting the past few years of Gary. That's not remotely. Anyways, let's see. So I feel like he's playing the cover Pink Floyd for a reason. Let's see what he says.
It's past its prime, allowing a guys is that
fun fact, if he's playing Pink Floyd for this example, it's not the best example.
band that you love that's decades past its prime, allowing a bunch of mid-level bands to do a poorly produced tribute album of their greatest hits. And yes, the
not quite the same thing, Gary. So number one, there's actually some really good Pink Floyd cover bands that actually do a really good job. So just shitting on all like cover bands for covering really great artists is kind of shitty, honestly. I mean, if you go to the podcast, we did a Pink Floyd album ranking, and we went to see "Wish You Were Here," which is a Pink Floyd cover band from Columbus, Ohio. They put on a fantastic show, and you can go there and bring up clips. It was awesome. It was awesome. Yes, there are shitty cover bands. There are good cover bands. Just like there are good bands, there are bad bands. Alien Romulus, if you want to call it a cover, it's a creative, well-done cover.
same could be said for all of Hollywood right now. So you can get the aesthetics right all day long, but without any meaning to your story or characters, it's just another piece of soulless content. And on that, at the very least, questionable return of characters played by dead actors. Remember that strike from last year when the Film Actors Guild said the AI boogie? Yes,
the Actors Guild, where you were against the worker. I remember that, Gary. You were firmly against the worker and supporting the studios in the strike. I remember.
Man was going to take all their jobs, when in truth it was about the control of AI, and now all the adult pretenders are rushing out to sign off their likenesses. And it won't be long until we get a movie with new music by Prince and David Bowie.
Yes, and that would be cringe as fuck. What are you talking about? New music by Prince and David? No, that would be AI music, Gary, and that would be awful.
Directed by Stanley Kubrick, starring John Wayne, Humphrey Bogart, Clark Gable, John.
Okay, they can't bring back Stanley Kubrick to direct it. Again, this, like, Gary, if you want to talk about the real issues with AI, I am down. I am down, because AI is a serious issue. AI, in my opinion, can't do art. I mean, obviously, like you can say it makes a movie or it makes a picture or something like that. But in my opinion, that's not even really art. Art has to come from a human being. I think trying to have movies and shit like that made by AI is kind of gross and obviously a studio cash grab. That's not what Alien Romulus is. Alien Romulus was scripted by people, directed by people. Obviously people who are fans of the Alien franchise. It's not an AI thing. And if what you want to use CG, because you do understand, like, the only thing I can think of is maybe you're talking about Ash in the movie, but like that's still done by CGI. That was done by humans and yes, computer programs, but it's not the same thing.
Belushi, Robin Williams, and Marilyn Monroe fighting xenomorphs. To be honest, I'd watch the hell out of that. Ultimately, Alien Romulus is a...
So wait, would you watch AI shit? Because I won't watch like if an AI movie comes out, I am boycotting the fuck out of that. That is gross.
forgettable drop in the ocean of creative bankruptcy.
What was the point of the AI speech? Yes, AI sucks.
Now, please repeat after me. There is only one Blade Runner film to be...
Oh, Blade Runner 2049 is amazing. I'll die on the hill that Blade Runner 2049 is better than the original. I will die on that fucking hill.
Fair with multiple cuts. There is only one Matrix film. There are...
Well, there's 4, but there's only one really good one. But of course, yeah, this is like teaching his audience just thought terminating cliches. Oh, there's only X number of movies. No, there's not. There might be X number of movies that you like, but
there are only 2 Predator films. There are...
Predators, I think, is underrated. The Predator did suck. Prey was awesome, though. Prey is like the second best one, so fuck you on that one.
Only 3 Indiana Jones films.
And you see, I think Dial Destiny's all right. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's all right. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is wonky.
And there are only 2 Alien films.
Yeah, just the ones that are generally speaking popular. Oh, God, I feel gross after watching Gary. Like, especially, like, it's so weird. Like, the difference between Gary and Critical Drinker, holy smokes. Like, Critical Drinker's bad, especially on his speculation videos. But on his reviews, it can be okay. Like, you know, and it's not, like, that Romulus review wasn't great by any means. But, you know, it wasn't, like, super gross. And somehow Nerdrotic was just super gross with that thing. Yeah. Paul Moses, Pink Floyd's a pretty left-leaning band. Roger Waters, who is an asshole, I want to stress. Roger Waters is an asshole. But he is also an out socialist. Yes, they are very left-leaning, so it's a weird reference to have. But God, I feel like what I've discovered is how much grosser Gary is at this than Critical Drinker. No wonder Critical Drinker has more subs than him. You want to talk about numbers, Gary? Critical Drinker can definitely toe a line where he's cringe, but I don't know, more people can dive in. You are just pure fucking cringe. I can't believe you have 1 million subs, because that was a vile fucking video. And it's the weird thing is that you and Critical Drinker say like the same fucking thing, almost verbatim. But somehow you are just so much worse and cringier about it. It's wild, Gary. So looking over this, I still am actually very shocked how similar Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic's videos are, hitting on many of the same points with very little variance. There's a little bit of variance here and there, but there's very little. And God, it does make me wonder, like, are they just getting scripts through an AI, like basic criticisms to get from an AI? Like, you don't usually get 2 movie critics and get, like, such similar reviews. Like, a degree of similarity is expected because they're going to be talking about the same movie, but, like, to hit on the same points, like, so closely without any real divergence is really suspicious and strange. And again, like, Critical Drinker does the arguments, but he's able to spin them in a way that isn't nearly as revolting immediately. You know, and it's something I've noticed with Critical Drinker. Like, his speculation videos are garbage, but his reviews can be fine. Gary, just all his videos are awful. All his videos are very negative, and this is no exception. I mean, you know, Critical Drinker takes a little punch at Gen Z in his video, but like Gary is like just shitting on Gen Z for working shitty jobs and not respecting their work that doesn't respect them. Like, Gary just almost screams old man energy with how he presents the same points Critical Drinker does. It's very fascinating. It really makes me wonder if they get like a list of talking points or something. Like, why are these so fucking similar? Like I said, some similarities to be expected because it's the same movie. But that similar? Really? There's something very suspicious about that. I have no idea what's going on. Everything I would say would just be speculation. Just, god damn, that is so similar. But again, thank you for watching. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and here's a list of channels that you should all check out. Remember, the best way to fight against these grifters and chuds is to like and engage with content you enjoy. Do not dislike or engage with their content in any way. Like and engage exclusively with content that is at least honest and telling you fair opinions. And here's a list of channels that will do just that. But, that summarizes this very long video. Thank you so much for watching. As usual, here's a list of channels you all need to like and subscribe. Make sure to like and subscribe to this video. Enjoy. Organized Chaos Podcast, Actual Fandom, TurfNation, AirricksReloaded, AirrickDebunks, Pop Counterculture, Forced Adversity Podcast, Mr. TARDIS, Pillar of Garbage, Bob of the Old Ways, Nothing But Media, Blurred Without Fear, Blurry Films, Chariot, Edgier Than Thou, My 2 Cents of Nonsense, Bobby Quarters, and many, many more.
You know, the very powerful and the very stupid have one thing in common. They don't alter their views to fit the facts. They alter the facts to fit the views.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.